Ever tried to mix music? You probably wondered why your vocals can jump out one moment and disappear the next, or maybe why your drums feel flat instead of punchy. And there's really only one tool behind all of that. I'm talking about compression. It's often the difference between mixes that feel messy and mixes that feel intentional. If you know my approach to music production, you already understand that I don't like to use a lot of plugins. On almost every mix and over 160 songs released in the last few years, I pretty much rely on only 3 tools: EQ, limiters, and compression. And I actually get a lot of questions from musicians and producers about compression. Today, I'm going to explain compression in a way that finally clicks. And by the end, you're going to understand the science behind it, the sound of it, and the strategy behind using it like a professional. I'm going to share some pro tips too after I explain the basics, and these are going to give you a clear edge. Also, totally free for you, I'm going to give you a set of compression cheat sheets that are going to show you the most common settings for different genres of music as well as for different instruments in a mix. I'm going to put the link for this in the comments, so be sure to check it out. This tool has literally helped me a ton, so I figured, why not share it with everybody? Let me begin with the simplest possible picture. Compression is all about balance. Imagine your audio kind of like water inside of a glass. And when the sound gets too loud, the water rises, and when the sound gets too quiet, the water shrinks back. A compressor monitors that glass and keeps the water from overflowing. It creates kind of a predictable and controlled dynamic shape. Simple enough, right? So now, let me translate that picture into the real compression controls that producers use. There's only 5 basic terms to know. These are threshold, ratio, attack, release, and knee, or sometimes we call it the elbow. Threshold is the height of the line on that glass that we talked about where the compressor really begins working. Like anything under that line gets untouched, but anything above that line is going to get reduced. And that line determines what the compressor considers too loud. The ratio is the strength of that reduction. So once the water rises above the line, an imaginary lid appears with a small opening, and that only allows a portion of that excess through. A high ratio can create really firm control, and a low ratio can create more of a gentle shaping. And ratio determines how aggressively the compressor reduces anything that crosses that threshold. Attack is the timing of that lid closing. So a fast attack clamps down immediately, and it's ideal for taming sharp transients like snare drum spikes. Whereas a medium attack lets that first tiny burst of energy pass before the control begins. And that kind of preserves the impact while still managing the body of the sound. A slow attack allows the initial movement of the sound to rise naturally before the compressor even engages. And that keeps instruments much more lively and expressive. Release is the timing of the lid opening again after that loud moment passes. So a fast release brings the level back up quickly, and it creates kind of a snappy feel. And a medium release produces more of a natural rise and fall, which blends more smoothly. A slow release keeps everything held down for longer, and it creates kind of a glue, especially useful for things like drums, vocals, or even mix buses. And the knee defines the personality of the transition. So a hard knee shifts from no compression to full compression instantly at the threshold. And it's really great for tight control. And a soft knee would then ease into compression before the exact threshold point, and it sounds way more musical and forgiving. It rounds off the edges instead of just grabbing them, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, I lied. There's actually one more term that you gotta know, which is makeup gain. Makeup gain elevates the entire signal after it's been controlled. So to explain this, I'll use an example that first helped me to understand it. Just imagine 2 kids are speaking at a school assembly, and one of the kids is yelling, and the other is talking really quietly. The compressor works to quiet the yelling kid so their volume is similar to the quiet kid. Of course, then nobody can hear either of them, and so makeup gain is like putting a microphone in front of both of them and making them both louder at just the right level so that everyone can hear them clearly. Compression isn't only a technical process, it's really like an artistic tool. It keeps vocals consistently present so that listeners remain connected to the emotion. And it shapes the punch of drums by managing transients and sustain. It glues instruments into a unified texture. It creates color by emphasizing tone and not just volume. And it increases perceptual loudness by raising body and tail instead of just adjusting the peak at the signal. In modern production, compression is how you create mixes that feel super competitive and much more alive. Now that you understand the mechanics behind compression, we're going to talk shop for just a minute. These are some pro takeaways that you can apply to your mixes right away. Takeaway number 1, you can get smooth vocals without losing any emotion. Compression is your best friend for keeping vocals consistent. Without it, a singer's performance can jump out in one phase and then vanish in the next. So, how you use it? Set a moderate ratio, maybe 3-to-1, with a medium attack and release, and that's going to keep your vocals present without sounding squashed. And a pro tip for you, add a touch of makeup gain after the compression so the quieter, more emotional moments can still shine through. Think of it like a spotlight operator at a concert. They keep that singer lit no matter how much they move around the stage. Takeaway number 2 then, how do you get punchy drums that cut through your mix? Well, drums live and die by their transients, which are those really sharp hits at the start of every sound. Compression lets you shape those. And how do you use it? Try a slower attack so the initial hit comes through, and then let the compressor tame that sustain. This makes kicks and snares punch harder without overwhelming your mix. And a pro tip, why not experiment with parallel compression? So blend a heavily compressed drum track underneath the original to add a lot of thickness and energy. Think of it like this. You're adding muscle under the skin so the groove feels stronger, but the natural shape is still there. And here's another one for you. Takeaway number 3, you can glue your mix together for a total pro sound. Compression isn't just for individual tracks. On the mix bus, it can make everything feel more cohesive. How you use it is apply gentle compression across the whole mix and use a low ratio like maybe 2-to-1 and a slow release. And that's going to subtly tie the instruments together. And my pro tip on this is use a soft knee setting for transparency. And that way the compression is going to feel more invisible, but the mix is still going to sound polished. Think of it like this. A band rehearsal where everyone finally locks into the same groove, where no one is too loud and no one's getting lost. And when you understand that water glass method, you're going to understand how to control these elements with a lot of confidence. If this helped you get clarity on compression, you're going to love my other videos where I break down music production, songwriting, and a lot about the music business. I hope that you click subscribe and stay tuned in. I'm Kevin, the founder of Innovaniac Music. We help indie artists grow and get heard and build real connections with fans. Until the next video, dream big and create boldly.